Disturbia is insane. Okay, so this is Kale, played by Shia LaBeouf, and that's his dad. Now one day, while driving back from going fishing, they encounter this really reckless driver.
Jackass! Hey. No, not you, Mom.
Not only does he cut them off, but he also gets them into a car accident. Oh man, that looked like it really hurt, but luckily they're still alive, right?
Kale!
Okay, maybe not. I think they're dead. Okay, I know it's kind of early to be complaining, but why did this guy behind them just witness an accident and then just keep driving at the same speed toward the car that was just in an accident? Because now, after being in 2 accidents back to back, Kale's dad is dead. The movie then cuts to 1 year later, and Kale is still reeling over his dad's death. His Spanish teacher then catches him sleeping in class and then just throws a freaking eraser at him. The teacher then asks him to tell the class what his summer plans are, but in Spanish. But then Kale is sort of like, yeah, I didn't really do the homework. Also, I don't really care, so. But then the teacher walks up to Kale and mentions how he's failing the class. And he even says that his father would be disappointed in him. So Kale just punches him in the face. And since punching people is illegal, Kale gets sentenced to 3 months of house arrest. Okay, so in the first 5 minutes of the movie, the main character gets into a car accident, has his dad die, punches his teacher in the face, and gets arrested. But trust me, the movie gets even crazier. But anyways, after getting sentenced to 3 months of house arrest, his mom is understandably pretty mad at him. So just to make sure that he's not having too much fun while being under house arrest, she disables his Xbox and iTunes account, and then even cuts the freaking TV cord in half. Which doesn't really make a lot of sense because there's still a TV downstairs that he watches with his mom later in the movie, but whatever. Okay, but basically, since Kale is just stuck in his house all day with nothing to do, he decides to fill his time by spying on his neighbors. Now he spies on pretty much everyone in his neighborhood, but the main person that he spies on is this old guy who happens to drive the same car as someone who recently went missing on the news.
Was driving a blue 1960s Ford Mustang, which may have been dented on the left side.
Oh, and he also spies on this girl named Ashley who just moved in next door. And not gonna lie, he gets pretty creepy when spying on her. I mean, this dude even has a timer set up so that he knows what time she starts doing yoga. Oh, and he's also got this friend named Ronnie who we saw earlier in the Spanish teacher scene, and he invites him over so that they can both spy on Ashley together. And then on a different day, they're spying on her while she's swimming again, but this time she straight up just looks right at them. And then afterwards she walks over to Kale's house and rings his doorbell.
No.
Now I know I said that she looked straight at them, but I guess she didn't actually see them because when she goes to Kale's house, all she says is that she locked herself out of her house. But instead of trying to get back home, she decides to just hang out with Ronnie and Kale. And while the 3 of them are hanging out, Ronnie and Kale tell her that they think that the old guy from earlier is secretly a serial killer, and that he is responsible for the disappearance of that woman on the news. So they decide to plan a stakeout. They gather a bunch of recording equipment and basically just stare at his house all day, waiting to catch him doing something. Now I don't know if you guys have stared at a house all day before, but I'm assuming it's pretty boring, so Ronnie just falls asleep. But while Ronnie's asleep, Kale and Ashley see Turner, which is the name of the neighbor by the way, come home, and they also see a green Volkswagen Beetle pull up as well. And it looks like Turner has a date. But is this a real date, or is this just another one of his victims? Well, I guess you're gonna have to watch the freaking video and find out, alright? But unfortunately, while they're watching Turner go on a date, Ashley's mom tells her to come home. So Kale walks Ashley outside to his front lawn, which is the farthest he can go without setting off the house arrest alarm on his ankle. And I guess they had a really strong connection during that stakeout, cause they're about to kiss. Oh, guess not. Now after everyone's gone home, Kale sees Turner's date running around his house, and it looks like she's about to get freaking murdered. So he pulls out his camera to try to get a good shot of the murder so that he can prove that this dude's a serial killer. But then all of a sudden, Kale just turns into the freaking worst cameraman of all time and accidentally takes a picture while recording. Like, why is he holding the camera perfectly still in the entire scene, but then as soon as he's about to actually catch something on camera that can incriminate this guy, he just starts freaking shaking the camera around. But anyways, when he finally gets back up to see what the killer is up to, he doesn't see anything, so he grabs his binoculars to get a better look. But then the next time Kale looks through his window, he sees that the woman who is in Turner's house is now walking to her car. Now they kind of explain later in the movie why the woman who is literally running around this dude's house and screaming is all of a sudden calmly walking to her car, but I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't make any sense, but I'll get to that later. Anyways, the next morning, Kale goes downstairs to make himself a bagel, and holy crap, the killer's in his house now! But don't worry, he's not here to kill the main character just yet. He's just here because he helped Kale's mom fix a flat tire at the grocery store. What a nice guy. And then this is where the movie kind of loses me, because after this scene, instead of giving the audience more scenes of the freaking serial killer next door, we spend the next 10 minutes of the movie on Shia LaBeouf being jealous because Ashley, the girl next door, throws a party, which obviously he can't come to. These scenes are kind of boring, so I'll just skip to the parts that matter. Basically, she finds out that he's essentially been stalking her ever since she's moved in. And at first she's like, dude, what the heck is wrong with you? But then Shia LaBeouf is like, bro, but like you're so like smart and like you read books and stuff and like you're like really pretty too. And then they just kiss. Now personally, if I was Ashley and I heard that someone was stalking me, I'd probably get one of these. but whatever. Well, anyways, while they're making out, Ashley sees Turner dragging something in a bag into his garage. And oh crap, there's blood in the bag. So the next day, the three main characters try to find out what was in that bloody bag. Now this is where the movie starts getting really fun again. Because to find out what was in the bag, Ronnie breaks into Turner's car while he's at the hardware store, and Ashley follows him around the store so that they know where he is while they break into his car. And Kale is sort of just there to relay the information between the two of them. This scene is actually pretty intense, and the movie gets even more intense when Turner stops in front of Ashley's car, walks over, takes her keys out of her car, and then just sits next to her. He basically tells her that he noticed that she was following him in the store and that he wants her to stop. Which, you know, wouldn't sound that bad if he wasn't touching her hair and saying stuff like this.
Sneaking around, being some kind of hip, new age way of coming onto it. Somewhat older man.
Bro, somewhat older man? You're like 75. Okay, and then after this encounter, the main three characters have a little meeting where Ashley's like, guys, maybe we should stop spying on him. And then she leaves. And I mean, like, I guess they are being pretty invasive, but like, bro, you just saw him drag a bloody human-sized bag like 12 hours ago. This dude's definitely hiding something. But it doesn't really matter because they end up needing to go into Turner's garage anyways because Ronnie accidentally dropped his phone in Turner's car while he was trying to find the garage door opener. So now Ronnie and Kale have to go into his garage to get the phone in order to not leave evidence behind. So Ronnie brings a camera with him that's hooked up to Kale's TV so that Kale can monitor where Turner is while Ronnie sneaks into the garage. When Ronnie makes it into the garage and into Turner's car, he actually finds his phone. But then Kale asks him to look inside the blue bag. And as Ronnie's trying to see what's in the blue bag, Kale sees the garage door starting to close. We then see Kale watching Ronnie get chased around the house from afar before he decides to grab a baseball bat to go and save him. And since Kale is leaving his house arrest monitor on his ankle is gonna go off, which will alert the police. So as he's about to walk into the house to go save Ronnie, the cops show up, which is good because Ronnie is somewhere in the house and there's a dead body in the garage, right? Well, not really, because it turns out that the bloody bag in the garage was actually just a deer that Turner had accidentally ran over, and there was no sign of Ronnie in the house. Because it turns out that Ronnie ran out of the house before Kale showed up, which explains why the door was open when Kale got there. Ronnie then hid in Kale's closet while he was being detained by the police, which caused them to argue because Ronnie kind of threw him under the bus. But at the same time, I do get Ronnie's point.
Dude, did you want me to go up to the cops and be like, oh, hey, you know what, officer? He's right. I was in his house. I went in there to get the phone out of the car that I broke into earlier today.
This movie is actually pretty funny. But anyways, after they have a bit of an argument, Ronnie goes to take a pee and tells Kale to watch the footage he took while he was in Turner's house. Oh, and just so you know, after Kale got arrested again, Kale's mom came home to scold him and then went over to Turner's house to convince him not to press charges. Just keep that in mind for later. But while Kale is playing Ronnie's footage, I guess he sees something in the footage that freaks him out. So he sits down and watches the footage frame by frame to understand what he just saw. And he sees something in the vents, but he can't really make out what it is. So he just starts enhancing the footage, and somehow the resolution just never gets worse, even though it was 2007 and he's zooming in like 50 times. But throughout all of this zooming in, he eventually realizes that there's a dead body in the vents. Oh yeah, for reference, here's how the image would look if I zoomed it in by 10 times. Okay, now let's look at the image that Kale zoomed into. Yeah, that's about the same. But anyways, as he discovers this, Turner just starts attacking Kale's mom. And after Turner attacks Kale's mom, he goes over to Kale's house and freaking hits Ronnie on the head with a bat. So now that Ronnie is knocked out, Kale and Turner finally face off. And this scene is genuinely really intense, and I like how they make good use of the fact that Turner needs Kale to stay within the confines of his house in order to prevent the police from being called. Like in this case, the machine that Kale is trying to unplug is connected to his ankle monitor, so if he unplugs it, the police will come. But Turner keeps freaking swinging at him, so he gives up and decides to just run outside to alert the ankle monitor by leaving his house. But as he runs outside, Turner just freaking tackles him and knocks him out with a single punch. After getting knocked out, Kale wakes up with duct tape all over him and Turner is sitting in his room. This is where Turner reveals his master plan of how he's gonna frame Kale and make it look like Kale killed Ronnie and his mom. And then he's gonna make it look like Kale committed suicide. Then he makes Kale write a suicide letter just to really drive the point home. But as he's writing the letter, Ashley arrives. So Kale punches Turner in the face and starts hopping towards Ashley. The three of them have a bit of a scuffle, but it eventually ends with Turner getting pushed off to the bottom of the stairs. Kale and Ashley then run back inside and lock the door, which gives Kale some time to untie himself before Turner starts bashing the door in with a baseball bat. They escape the room by climbing out of the window and jumping into a swimming pool, and while Ashley goes to get help, Kale goes to find his mom, who's in Turner's house. Now he's gotta find his mom fast because Turner's still in Kale's house, so he's gotta find her before Turner gets there first. Now unfortunately that's gonna be pretty hard because Turner's house has a bunch of like freaking hidden passageways that allows him to store all of his victims. And this movie's actually got some pretty creepy imagery for a PG-13 movie. But anyways, while he's looking for his mom, it turns out that Turner has made it back to his house. But luckily the cops are here because Kale's ankle monitor went off. So now this killer's finally gonna get arrested. Oh, never mind, he's just gonna get freaking killed because they decided to only bring one cop to Turner's house. Like I seem to remember that when Kale left his house earlier to sneak into Turner's house, there were like 4 cops. So why is there only freaking 1 this time? Okay, well as Kale explores the house some more, he stumbles upon this like freezer room where he discovers the driver's license of that woman that Turner went on a date with in that earlier scene. This is where they sort of explain why that woman was walking so casually to her car in that other scene. Basically, that woman was actually Turner dressed up as a woman. And the woman who they saw in the green car never actually made it out of the house. Which sort of makes sense until you actually go back and see the clip of the woman walking to her car. Like Turner's entire plan of not looking like a murderer relies on the fact that that Kale doesn't actually look out his window and instead just looks through his curtains. But anyways, Kale is still in Turner's house looking for his mom, and he eventually hears some noises coming from this hidden basement. So he goes down there and accidentally falls through the floor of the basement into this like sewery thing, where he sees even more of Turner's dead victims. But he eventually climbs out of the sewer, and after searching through the basement for a little bit, Kale finally finds his mom and unties her. But oh crap, Turner is right behind her. But as he's about to kill Kale, Kale's mom stabs him in the back of the knee, and then Kale turns around and stabs him with a pair of shears, pushing him into the same body of water that Turner had put a bunch of his victims in. Wow. How poetic. The movie ends with Kale getting his house arrest sentence cut short for good behavior, and then afterwards Kale and Ashley reunite and kiss. And that's Disturbia. I know I was complaining throughout the whole video, but it's actually a pretty decent movie. I watched it on Paramount Plus, so if you're one of the 3 people that has that streaming service, then you should go check it out. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then maybe consider subscribing. Let's try to get to like 14 subscribers.